Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So today's webinar is going to be on cost plus projects and how to manage them in RedTeam Go. I am the presenter today. My name is Nathan Waite. I'm an implementation specialist here at RedTeam Go. A little background about myself is I started off in architecture and then moved over to project management, where I did project management for a small GC firm for about 3 years before I moved over to Red Team. My partner, who is going to be presenting and she'll be fielding all of your questions, will be Rhonda. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat, and we'll also leave some time after the webinar to answer anything that I can. So, okay, so today's agenda is going to be why setup matters for cost plus work. Then we'll start with the owner contract. We'll move on to sub-only PCOs, then monthly change orders, and then monthly billing and backup documentation. And finally, we'll be at final reconciliation. Okay, so to start off, we will want to start with the owner contract. So first, we'll want to define cost plus scope and reimbursable costs. And then we'll want to establish a monthly billing and approval expectations, and then align our contract language to show our monthly billing expectations. Next is going to be our sub authorization. We'll want to create subcontracts and potential change orders to authorize subcontractor work, and then use those potential change orders that are approved internally by the GC or the PM, and convert them to a monthly cadence where we do a monthly change order to the owner. What that does is it keeps the owner up to date on kind of where costs stand, but it also allows you to bill for those extra costs, maybe above and beyond what your kind of initial budget was on a monthly basis. So, all right, next is going to be our monthly change orders. So we'll want to roll up our monthly sub-only PCOs into one change order, and then give that to the owner. That helps eliminate the need for multiple PCOs or change orders for all the different line items you may have, and kind of condense that into a one monthly cadence, so it doesn't overwhelm your owner. Okay, so we'll want to make sure that when we do those monthly change orders, that we are only doing that in the owner column, not in the sub column as well. I will show you that here in a few minutes on the RedTeam Go platform. And then we want to keep our owner-facing COs as clean as we can. So that's the reason we suggest the monthly billing. Okay. Next is going to be monthly billing and backup documentation. So like I said, on a monthly basis, we'll want to include our monthly change orders in the pay application. We would want to provide our PCO narratives, invoices from our subs, and our clear cost narrative. So that way we're being transparent on exactly what we're billing in our cost plus work. And then last is just, again, making sure that we have a strong audit trail and keeping really good track of all of our billing, because cost plus is much more transparent than a lump sum style of work. Okay, and then finally, we'll have our final reconciliation. This will happen at the end of the project, and we're just finalizing all of our remaining PCOs and making sure that all of our cost items are aligning with everything, and doing our final adductive or even deductive change orders based on what you've actually occurred on the project. So, okay, I'm going to jump over to RedTeam Go platform now. Okay. So first of all, I wanted to call out and the importance of having this transparent in your contract language with the owner contract. So I wanted to call out a couple ways that you could do that. So I have this project right now that is currently in the bidding status. I'm going to jump over to the worksheet here and show kind of some ways that you could identify some cost plus. So obviously there's multiple styles of cost plus here. So me as a GC, I've done uh, full cost plus work where the whole project was cost plus, but I've also done some variations where maybe general conditions was a set fee that was more of a lump sum in the as for general conditions, but everything else was cost plus. And then I've also done some work where for the most part, everything is lump sum, with the exceptions of some line items being cost plus or T&M, just because of some of the unknowns you may run into there. So functionally, they will all work the same through RedTeam Go, but I wanted to show you how we could approach those different options in our contract language. So the first option I kind of wanted to show you was when you're doing specific one-off that might be T&M work just because of some unknowns. And those three are that I wanted to show you are these the site work. How I have that set up is I put them in the um, over here in the notes in the bid notes. So if you go look at interior demolition, we're assuming this project has some interior demolition, and you never know what you may find behind some walls. So I'm going to open up this and show you kind of how this can come across. So excuse me, I added some bid notes here that then will come across to the owner contract, and I'll show you that here in a minute. But essentially, it just kind of gives us a base scope of what you're doing with the cost associated with this base scope, and then anything above and beyond that would be cost plus or T&M work right here. So any unforeseen conditions discovered behind the wall, including but not limited to additional framing, things like that. So I've done the same thing here with the concrete saw cutting, and earthwork. Okay, so moving on to our owner contract. I'm going to set this job to pending really quickly, and then I can show you how that comes across in the owner contract. So if I jump into our commitments here and then owner contracts, I also wanted to call out here we have a standard owner contract that is more of our lump sum, but we also have created a cost plus owner contract. So our language in this contract is going to be quite a bit different, and I think that's important to indicate. Obviously, it's cost plus, and then you can also what I would suggest is indicating in there how your billing cadence will look and things like that. As far as those change orders that we're going to talk about and things like that, so that they're ready and prepared for it. If you would just give this a second here. And increase the screen size a little bit. I just realized that's probably a little small for you guys. It is taking a minute. Let me see if I can refresh this and get it to go a little faster. Okay, here we go. All right, so essentially this is going to be our standard contract with some contract language changes for cost plus. But what I really wanted to show you here is those specific one-off scenarios that we have. So in our bid notes, we have the ability to show like I said, interior demolition. Here's our base cost, and then here is our T&M note. So those are automatically coming through from that bid note I created. They're automatically coming through into here, so I can really easily show which one of my line items are going to have this kind of cost plus allowance attached to it as well. So I think this is a great way to do it when you have one-offs. If it's a purely cost plus contract, these may not be necessary, and it may just be better to put that in the overall language of the contract. So moving on here, I'm going to jump this project forward into in progress, and we're gonna kind of pretend that we are have already started this project and it's underway. So I'm gonna jump over to the budget here. And you'll notice here that there's kind of some cost plus is pretty different than how lump sum works in that you may be doing all your buyout all at once at the beginning of the project. That's certainly possible. But you also may be doing buyout as the project progresses. So there's a couple options here, and you'll want to handle that a little differently for each time you do that. So if you're doing buyout at the beginning of the project, and then you're going through the project and things are changing that you need to send to your owner, then all you're really going to do is do your buyout, as in creating subcontracts. So let's kind of jump into one here with earthwork. We're going to do this buyout. So we're just going to subcontract management, assign a sub to it. And then I'm going to jump over to the subcontracts. And I've already done a little bit of buyout on this one, but now I can jump into this Terra Earth, complete this contract. I'm going to go ahead and lock it now. And now this is locked. And what it's saying is this is locked under the amount of that I went under contract with of $25,000, right? But like I said, this was kind of one of our allowance line items where we weren't sure what we were going to find once we started digging. There might have been quite a bit of boulders and rocks in the way that might increase this cost, and we're going to assume that that's exactly what happened. So after I've signed this contract, now work is underway and it's increased cost. So what I'm going to need to do is create a change order for that. So all I'm going to do is jump in here to change orders, and then I can create a sub only change order. And the reason I'm going to want to do that is so that I can keep the subcontractor moving, and then keep track of all those sub change orders. And then at the end of the month, I can basically create a one owner change order that includes all of those sub change orders. So I'm not having to send this out every single time to the owner. That is a possibility if that's how the ownership wants to work or how you want to work. But on a purely cost plus basis job, it can get kind of cumbersome doing it that way. So that's why we kind of suggest that monthly cadence, just kind of rolling all of these up into one monthly bill to your owner. So I'm going to go ahead and create a sub change order here. Whatever you want to name that here, change order 2 is going to be to this Terra Earth, and then I can create it. And then I'm going to quickly jump into add description costs. This is the work I need to do. I can add a description here, and you'll definitely want to do that for tracking purposes. So, so extra cost for. Okay, and then here's where I can put my price. Let's just say that was $2,000. We'll say I'm not doing any markup there, and then I can go ahead and save it and then return, right? So now I would want to go through the signature process with the sub saying, hey, you're approved, me as the GC, I'm approving that you're okay to move forward with that extra $2,000 of cost. So I'm going to go ahead and sign check to the CO. I agree. And now I can bill for that. And then, or they can bill me for that rather. But now let's say we are at the end of the month. And now I need to bill the owner for that extra work. Now all I'm going to need to do is create this change order, create an owner change order right here. And then, like I said, I think a monthly cadence works best. So we want to name that however you'd like. I'm just going to name it February. And then I can start to lump in all of those sub change orders into here. So all I need to do is add descriptions, add a description here. It's going to be under earthwork. And then the thing to pay attention to here is this sub price is going to stay zero. And that's because we've already created a sub change order. But this owner price is what's going to change, that $2,000. So now we've already given the approval for the sub price of 2,000 on that earlier change order that was a sub only change order. Now we're just asking the owner to change their contract value between the owner and the GC and increase it by 2,000 in order to cover that sub change order. So this will remain zero. We can mark this up if we'd like with burn rate and things like that. And then just go ahead and save that. So now that that's saved, I can return to my change order list, and then I can keep adding to those February change orders if I'd like. So if I need to keep adding some more things to it, I can do that just by jumping back in here, adding another item description. And then, let's say there was another change order that I already did through with my sub for, extra demo. Okay, I can add that item, and then that was interior demo. And then I can just go ahead and add that here. So let's say that was an extra $1,500. I'd go ahead and save that. Okay. So now that that's done, we're just going to kind of pretend that this is ready to be approved. And then I will show you how that comes across on the billing, and we'll finish this up. So we are going to go ahead and approve these. Okay. I'll approve that. Okay, cool. All right, so now I can jump over to the billing. I'm going to go to billing under billing A. Okay, so I'm going to go unlock this, and now you'll see that this earthwork had the original 25,000. That was what our contract value was for. But we have some additional money that we need to put in there that and bill against. And as always, we're going to go to this actions checklist, add a change order, and then we're going to want to add that February change order into this. And that's what included that additional $2,000. And you'll notice now that the earthwork has jumped up 25 plus the 2,000 changes, and now it's at 27. And now we can bill against that full $27,000 amount. Okay, that is essentially how we are going to work through cost plus jobs and cost plus line items within jobs, or T&M line items with jobs within jobs. So that's pretty much how this is going to work. And then at the end of the job, you'll want to make sure that you kind of reconcile everything. Obviously, there might be some items that you went under on, and you'll need to do a deductive change order for those. And then just lump it all into one final change order. So that is pretty much it for that. I'm going to jump back into this, and then quickly just show you kind of our timeline of how this should work. So we have our bid set up where we identify cost plus and unknown scope. We'll want to make sure we set clear expectations with our owners before we begin. And then we'll have our field discovery. We'll start to figure out those unknown conditions and align with our pre-identified cost plus notes. And then our sub authorization is going to be issuing subcontracts or our PCOs, COs to our subs to keep them moving. And then we'll go to cost tracking, where we'll track our labor, materials, and equipment as T&M. And we'll definitely want to make sure we maintain photos, daily reports, and our invoices are important for Cost Plus, especially those invoices. Then we'll move on to our monthly reconciliation, where we will roll up all of those sub-only change orders into one single monthly owner change order. Then we'll go on to our monthly billing, where we can again bill for those items, those monthly change orders. And then finally, we'll have our final closeout where we will want to reconcile all of those changes. So that is our how to manage Cost Plus in RedTeam Go. Does anyone have any questions?
Nathan, there does not seem to be any questions as of right now. We may want to give them a couple minutes.
Okay, perfect. I will hang out for a couple of minutes, and if we get anything, I'll be more than happy to answer what I can. Okay, it does not appear that we have any questions right now, so I think we are going to go ahead and end this. Thanks everyone for your time. Really appreciate it, and I hope this was helpful. Thank you.